applause for Justin. He founded, you know him maybe because he founded Justin TV, and his latest company is Exec. This panel is the remote controls panel. Thank you, judges. Also, big round of applause for our judges. So this whole concept of remote controls, where you push a button and then something happens in the real world, I just find it fascinating. And can you move back so I can see both of you? Thank you. So let's start with you, Garrett. Right? Uber. I've been using it the whole time I've been here for doing rehearsals and even getting a car out here. Obviously Uber started here in your service level, but notice from launch until now it's really, if you've gotten to that point where it really is this push button and you have the different range of cars. It's not just the high-end cars. You got the Uber X, etc. Just tell us a little, take us through sort of the past couple of years of Uber. How did we get here to this? How hard is it to build that push button experience?
Really the inspiration came back. I was stranded on the side of the road many times. I was late for many dates. I was very frustrated, and I was like noticing that all these cabs were cruising by, and there's no coordination among them. And they basically have a central phone dispatcher, and it's very inefficient. I actually got banned from 2 different cab companies in San Francisco. I couldn't call a yellow cab or a Luxury, and the dispatcher said I wouldn't even pick up the call.
You got banned?
I got banned.
How did you get banned?
So because if you actually go out and get in another cab after the dispatch you want, and the cab will be 20 minutes late, I'd after 25 minutes we'll get a different cab. And then 3 minutes later, they would call me like, where are you? And I'm like, well, I got a different one. And then after I did that 5 times, they banned me.
You had a blacklist.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I gotta solve this myself.
That really is solving your own pain.
And yeah, so then I started flagging down the Jiffy cabs, which were sometimes a little sketchy, so that was sort of, kind of hit and miss. But I kept thinking, like, there's so many cars going around that could just have an app in them, and why can't I just open my iPhone and click a button and have it here so one come? And that was really the genesis of the idea. Very soon after, Travis, helped me out and kind of helped launch it. So really, we're just trying to solve that person's need, and we just got lucky on time because we had the app design ready right above the time that the battery life got good enough on the phone that a driver could actually do his whole shift.
Great. So, Justin, tell us a little bit about Exec. Why did you start? And that it's having sort of an evolution as well, right? Where you kind of started more general and now focusing on cleaning services, right?
Yeah. So the inspiration for Exec was actually Uber. We saw I'm a big Uber user and still am, and it's such an easy and awesome experience that I was like, can you apply this to other things? But the actual inspiration moment was actually also had to do with Uber, where a couple of friends of mine and I were on a trip, and we needed to do something in San Francisco. We needed to deliver a set of house keys from point A from one friend to another friend. And I told my friend in the car with me that he should call Uber and ask the driver to go to the first place and instead of picking up a person, pick up some keys and drive them to the second place. And
it's
it was
an expensive errand.
Yeah, but I mean, he needed to do it at the time. It was very time sensitive, and there was no other option. And so my friend asked me, is that possible? Can we do that? And I said, it's a guy. He's in a car. He can figure it out. So we used Uber for that, and it worked. It was awesome. And I said there should be a service that can do your errands in real time, a remote hands for the real world. And that's how we started thinking about Exec. And then basically the short timeline is we launched it in February of last year as a service where you can just press a button and we connect you to someone who was vetted, that we had interviewed and brought on the platform, and they would do anything you wanted. Just type in whatever description you wanted, go pick up some house keys and drop them to my house, or pick up the groceries for me and put them away in my pantry.
Right.
And then about 6 months later, we decided that a good strategy for activating our customers, getting them to understand exactly how they can use Exec would be to go vertical by vertical. And we started with a house cleaning vertical, so you can order a house cleaning from your mobile phone, from their iPhone.
So what's next?
I don't know. We're still working on these two. We have errands in San Francisco and a house cleaning service is available in 7 cities. And so we're just working on expanding what we have right now.
Right. So now we're having these Uber for businesses, you know, and you're involved investor in some of them as well, like Blackjack, Uber for private planes. Like how many of these verticals are there?
I think there's a lot.
How many business models have you seen for Uber for?
There's a lot of Uber for boats pictures going around recently. I looked at, and I was tempted to invest, but I'm not really super big into boats. But I think there's a lot. I mean, I think it's really just about thinking what is that use case that people really want to go. You know, what is the new form factor makes sense for a phone? And then just thinking about, you know, how can you just give people that service very quickly and very easily. So with Uber, I just tried to make the transaction flow as seamless as possible. I just thought, you know, if I want to use this, it's going to be as elegant as possible with the place. And that's, I think, for a car use case, a pretty good solution. But for different industries and different products, it'll be a completely different system. So I think Uber 4 is now just sort of, people refer to it as like, oh, it's a one-button thing that does something. But I did the one-button thing for years at StumbleUpon. It just announced that the page coming to you as a car. Just a little bit different.
What is it about mobile that allows these push-button experiences to proliferate?
Just because it's accessible from anywhere. I mean, it's crazy now that hundreds of millions of people have a computer in their pocket. I mean, when I started StumbleUpon, that definitely wasn't like that. I think that now you have that access to these mobile services via mobile from anywhere. So just now, you know, aims to expand and looking to potentially.
So what have you learned? What are the keys to making a push-button remote control experience successful? What were some of your assumptions going in, and what did you learn? You know, once you can have the service live, that you then iterated on.
For me, the biggest one is simplicity. And really just trying to make that user interaction as simple as possible. Having a credit card file beforehand, you know, being able to get in the car and just get out of the car without having to do any circling at the end. You know, figuring out what should be put on which side of the service. Some is on the user, some is on the service provider. Thinking about how that goes, I think can make the system really, really smooth. So I think simplicity is probably the #1 factor. And then a pretty big brand as well. I think branding is more important than ever. I mean, there's so many brands out there, and it's such a semantically crowded space that if you have a nice, simple brand like exactly, you know, that kind of stands out and has meaning to people. Combining with that with simplicity in one click, I think, can give you success stories.
What would you say, Justin? What is it about mobile that allows these things to?
Well, so I think that mobile also enables the provider side, right? Like that's one thing that we do at Exec, inspiration from Uber. Again, it's like with the proliferation of all these mobile phones, that can do things. You can have people like pick up jobs like on the go and be around the city.
You've got a mobile workforce that's providing these services.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, in my mind, these are really, it's sort of a new kind of marketplace model, right? You're matching the providers of the service with the demand, and it's a completely different model than say like eBay, right? Where it's the shipping required, it's not the goods and services. But it's also, we started seeing this a little bit on the web with some services, but it does seem like tapping into the providers of those services wherever they may be is kind of a key.
Well, let's go offer those services like much quicker, right? Logistically, a lot around optimizing, the kind of time they can get the service.
Right.
I think it enables the real time. Before, if you were relying on email or something else, the person would have to go and check their email later or have some custom device. Now, that service can be provided very quickly because it's a push notification. You don't need your phone. Before, if it was an email or a website or whatever, your churn time may be a lot more. So I think it's one thing mobile's done is make that quick speed at which you can offer that service a lot better.
And then what are you doing on the back end? I mean, you're collecting a lot of data, especially for Uber, right, where you've got a lot of sort of logistics. You're trying to figure out how many cars are available, how far away they are from any one particular driver at one time. I've seen all those sort of sophisticated maps that you guys use. But that also allows you to provide new services, right? I mean, we think about it, this is just a car service, but yet, I was just in an Uber, and they're dropping me off at one hotel and a colleague at another one, and I could get out of the car and keep going, and I was still, I'm paying for the ride. I'm going to be in the car to pay for the ride. It's so obvious, but it wasn't really possible before, right? And so what are these new experiences that you can provide because you're pulling a lot of complexity out in the back end?
Travis loves the deliveries stuff, Uber barbecue, I saw Southwest last year, things like that. I think there's a lot of things that can go on top of things like that. a lot of these services just kind of use each other because now it's like you have this infrastructure below where if you are running a task, you have an Uber ticket in the car, or you can use it in the car, if you don't own the car, right? So I think that all these shared services, the shared technology is now enabling them to sort of use each other, and then people can start to build new sort of interesting ideas on top of these bases.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about product and about design principles, right? I mean, obviously mobile, you can talk about simplicity, and that's true for all mobile products and all mobile apps. But what is it about, and when we talk about these remote control apps, which typically have that marketplace component, what are some of the design principles that you think are key?
Well, we focus on a lot of the same things, I think, around simplicity and something that looks well designed and conveys the brand in it. With cleaning specifically and air running, people need to trust that your app is, and the people that you're going to send are going to be legitimate and vetted and going to do a good job. There's a lot of personal trust that goes into it using the app, so we try to make sure that the brand conveys that by spending a lot of time on small details. Because that's the first interface that someone has with our services is the app part of it.
Just kind of puts me in this.
And I think that's probably what we think about the most.
I think along those lines, I think like the feedback element to ensure service quality. So being able to get that star rating or being able to rate your providers the transaction, I think is pretty important because a lot of the times these platforms will make a certain provider very easy for you to join. We get a lot of them, right? And it's just not feasible to really figure out right from the beginning with that percentage. So I think enabling that feedback in every transaction, I think is a really interesting approach. So I think a lot of that, the feedback element needs to be sort of built into the system, to sort of come into it.
Well, there's something magical about calling the car and seeing the car on the map coming to you. It's like there's a lot of anxiety when you're stuck on a street corner and you call the car and it's on the way, but you don't know if they're lying to you, the dispatcher is lying to you or not. And here it's like you can just see it on the map, and even if it's far away, you can plan for it. It's like, okay, I'm gonna hang out.
I was thinking that James Bond, there's one of James Bond movies where he's in the car and he has this phone where it's tracking the car. It's like, oh, I can think about that. And I think that's right. That anxiety going down because you know where it is. I think is cool.
Right. What's the feedback that you provide?
Yes, we have a similar feedback mechanism. People will rate how their jobs went. One thing we think about is how to provide status updates to the customer as the thing happens in real time, so that they can be aware of what's going on. So you might see the job is they're on their way to it. There's starting. There's messaging just within the app, so they can ask you questions, send you photos. If they have specific questions about how do I? Do you want me to touch your desk when I'm cleaning the house?
Right.
They can send you a photo and say, touch that, or you have to go ahead and pick it up. And so just figuring out different ways for people to the customers to have that comfort and they know exactly what's going on, whether they're active in messaging or passive, a map or just what the status of the job is really good for us.
And looking at this from a business point of view, we had a panel before on 10 million to 1 million. Where does it become interesting and get to scale? But yet Chris Dixon pointed out that there are some services that the unit economics, like Uber or Exec, they pay for themselves. So you have 10,000 users in the city, that could be very profitable. So it's a little bit, it's obviously consumer applications, but talk a little bit about the economics of it in a customer acquisition and when does it start paying for itself?
Yeah, I mean, I've had experience at all three levels. I mean, StumbleUpon was a lot of users, 3 million users, and less money per user than an app platform. With Uber, sort of in the middle, credit cards on file, and there's $20 transaction, $30 transaction, and Blackshell is a multi-thousand transaction. So I've sort of seen all levels. I mean, that whole 10 million, 1 million, I think for an ad platform is actually kind of true. You need a lot of scale before you can actually get some of the advertisers, media companies to want to sort of use you as a platform. But I think, if people have the credit card on file on the app, there's no reason you have to have 10 million users, even 1 million users. If you could have 10,000 users, that'd be totally fine. So I'm a big fan now of trying to let the users just easily pay, and that way you don't need to establish this huge audience before you can be profitable.
Yeah, let's spoken like someone who's tried to build an ad platform, right? Like, made an ad company.
Exactly,
Yeah.
after years in the ad world, yeah.
Exactly the same. I mean, I've had pretty similar experience where Justin TV is, tens of millions of users, and our spin-offs like Twitch TV is now surpassed that. It's, over 40 million uniques every month, and but each user is monetized at like a fraction of like a penny per user, something like that. So for us, we're with Exec, the user makes money the first month. We try to get people to share the cleaning service with other people, just like do organic referrals and do a lot on the SEO side of acquiring users. And when we get